what I'd like to hear from this panel is, what are the traits that you think are necessary to be great innovators? What is it that you have in the way of the right stuff? And what do you look for in others? And Ed, and I'm going to sweep down, and then we'll Ed, what do you have? What is it that you bring that makes you a better than average innovator? And what do you look for when you hire people to be innovative?
I'm just scared most of the time.
So be fear-driven, and fear will end up causing you to innovate. I like that.
Yeah, fear is a great motivator.
I like that. It's true.
You have to do that. But really, it boils down to, you said the word before, about empowerment and leadership. And you can't do everything. As we've grown, we've grown to over 4,000 employees from 11 years ago. And I look at it as a leadership standpoint, and in building a culture that allows people, a culture of accountability and responsibility. And there's three aspects of it that I like to think about, and it's take the blame. Something's going to go wrong, take the blame. None of this. Everybody should have ownership and take the blame. The second element is you should share the fame. Push the fame down as far as you can, that everybody feel really good about it. And the third element is avoid the shame. Everybody's going to be building a business. You will be faced with opportunities where you can cut a corner or do something, and just don't do it, because you have to lead by example. You need to leave your ego at the door, number one. There's such a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and you've got to be confident, but you can't be arrogant. You have to empower people, let them do their job, and listen. Just listen. And you do that, and you'll be successful. Realize you're not the smartest man in the room, which is pretty easy for me, even on this panel.
Well,
I'm not.
I'd say be humble is what you should. But anyway, good content. Hardy, I mean, what do you think it is? What do you bring to the table? I mean, you work very hard. You're industrious. You're smart. What else?
I think to be innovative, you have to be ready to listen and ready to partner. While you say you read Tom's book, actually read Tom's books. And one of the things, and you do read too, but one of the things that he talks about is innovation is not a single player game. Innovation is cross-sectoral, and you need to actually have a lot of partners that come to help you execute. The other thing that Tom talks about, innovation, is invention plus execution. So execution is a critical part of innovation. And if I go back a couple of lives, at the city of Chicago, when we created the Department of Innovation and Technology, when we think about governments, we don't invent any new products. Thank God we don't. What we do is we actually bring innovation and apply that to the government processes so that our employees are more productive and our customers get better service at a cheaper cost to the government. And that's where we apply innovation. And at the city of Chicago, we focused heavily on improving the end-to-end customer experience, working with design research students and faculty at that time. So it was also, again, bringing a lot of partners, people from IDEO, people from IIT, Institute of Design, and focusing on innovation that way. When I went to Cisco, and I built innovation centers across the globe, part of my job was to basically build the market for Internet of Everything, as Cisco called it, for the public sector and real estate. And what we did was looking at the local government or the real estate provider or player, what are the key things that they want to innovate, that they want to focus on, what's the region looking for in terms of the economic growth. And based on that, look at what Cisco solutions, and my job was to take the leading edge, bleeding edge Cisco solutions to the customer, and then showcase those to the customer, and then have the sales team kind of go in and try and obviously improve our top line and bottom line. So in that, we actually partnered heavily with the local ecosystem. So when I build a innovation center in Barcelona, it's not only about Cisco solutions, but it's also about the local Catalonian entrepreneurs that would work with Cisco for joint innovation, joint development, and joint demonstration to not just to the government, but also to Schneider and to many other companies that would work with us.
You've got to have people skills, you've got to be collaborative, you've got to be willing to travel, it sounds.
Absolutely. Willing to travel, but also I think you need to also think about localizing your innovation. It's not all about global companies coming in and saying, this is my innovation. You need to localize the innovation to fit the society.
Let's go to Brenna. So Brenna, you were saying that the city might actually invent some things.
Yeah, no, we build sometimes.
You build. Tell us.
And not often, right?
Tell us
not
what you
often,
build.
Because government isn't generally a risk taker, except maybe on the NASA end of things. And I think that's an example. So we do build product now, occasionally, in the right instance. And I think that's an example of where, when you're innovating, you need to recognize when the problem has changed enough, or your business model has changed enough, that you need to switch gears. And what perhaps has worked in the past isn't necessarily working all the time anymore. And we've had to do that a couple of times in the last few years, where what was available in the marketplace wasn't working, or wasn't meeting our needs, and we had to actually build, and this is actually, there've been great examples so far where we took what's already been laid out, we had to build new partnerships, and bring some new skill sets to the table to actually build product to meet the needs for the city. And you'll find those in like the analytics space, et cetera, because the city started so early on that path, that product wasn't available.
So it sounds like you need managerial execution skills. It sounds like you need sort of a sixth sense to know when things are going right and going wrong. I mean, you're highly quantitative and analytical. I've heard you talk about data analytics. I mean, do you need technical skill to be a good innovator? I mean, do I need to know about Hadoop clusters? If I'm out in that audience, do I need to learn about, what do you think? No?
No. You need the right mix of skills on your team for the problem that you're trying to solve.
Oh, that's good. That's big.
Right.
All right. So I don't necessarily have to be a technical expert, but I need to know where to find one. Try to keep going. What do you need to really be innovative? What is it that you bring to the party skill-wise?
I think innovation in a lot of ways is asking a lot of questions versus knowing a lot of answers. And creating an environment of risk tolerance, experimentation, but also creating an environment of celebrating when that risks have paid off, to then be able to bring together role modeling the behavior that we expect of everybody. But it's also where you started the conversation, why innovation matters for each of our organizations, and ensuring alignment from every single person on the responsibility, as Brenna was sharing, around the shared responsibility of innovation, not really one or two people in the organization.
Okay, again, we're talking about innovation from the top. When you look at those people, you've gone from 300 to 400, and you're going to 1,000 people. What do you look for on that resume that says this is going to be an innovative person?
We look for people who've actually overcome problems in life, because people can either be in the passenger seat of life and identify the problems, or they can be in the driver's seat of life and find the solutions. And we look for people with a resiliency DNA who've actually overcome challenges, and that creates a self-awareness that we've got the ability to think without resource constraints and innovate and ideate in those situations and then implement solutions, even if they're not perfect. We also look for people who aren't tied to the idea of perfection. It can be a big pitfall, especially as you're looking to innovate very rapidly. We look for people who, one of our core values is scrappy excellence. Look for people who can be very scrappy in terms of resources.
Wait, say that again. Scrappy excellence?
Excellence.
Did everybody hear that one? Scrappy excellence. That's good.
It's a paradox. It's a seemingly paradoxical statement, but we look for people who can be very scrappy about resources, but also strive for excellence, and that puts stress on the organization to always innovate.
All right, Mary Ellen, obviously, you were incredibly brave. Seriously, we know there have been challenges in the space program. So bravery must be one thing that you have that you might not talk about, but what else do you need to be a NASA astronaut, to be an innovator? What do you think?
Well, I think one thing that I learned at NASA, and I've carried it with me through my career and the clients I help today, it has to be about the mission. It can't be about you. I mean, you cannot swing a stick without bumping into somebody who wants to be the next big, billionaire entrepreneur. That's about them. It's what they want to be. The ones that are successful are the ones that actually want to build something. They believe in that mission, and it doesn't matter whether, they get to sit in the crew compartment or, slog away in the back room making that mission successful. And, when you talk about bravery, you have to understand, on my first flight, the calculated odds of not coming home, calculated based on the reliability of the components, was 1 in 100. The actual odds, if you look at about 100 missions and we lost 2 of our shuttles, was about 1 in 50. And I did the math one time, and if aviation had the same risk as going into space, there would be 10 catastrophic crashes at DFW Airport every single day.
Wow. Wow.
And so I bring this up because, you know, everybody says, I would love to go into space. It can't be about you. You cannot want to do that because you want to have this amazing experience, because that would just be stupid. I mean, it has to be, I mean, serious, that would be some bad decision making right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be about something bigger. It's about creating a spacefaring civilization. It's about achieving results on an experiment that are going to have, you know, lasting impact. It has to be about that mission. And so I learned that at NASA, and I still carry it with me. And I want to be surrounded by people who have that fire in their belly to go achieve the thing they're setting out to do.